computer over here, there's a story behind it. And the story is, so when I started, I had a laptop. It was in storage. So as soon as I went from, a couple of, I was living in a car for 6 months, and then I was homeless for a couple of days. And then I got a roof over my head. And the first thing I did is I went to get my laptop that was in storage, and it was an Apple laptop. And, I started getting to work. This is not the time or place to talk about the FYL and all that, but essentially that laptop stuck with me until 2014, which was my third warehouse. So I went from that little room, and then 2012 I got my first warehouse. Then I got really quick, I got another one, and then on that third warehouse, the laptop it couldn't take it no more. And Apple just had came out with the 27 inches, and the specs were out of this world. They had the first unit that was available. It was really a limited edition. It was a 27 inch, and it had the 4K screen on it. So when they do these keynotes and they had all these the crazy specs, and I souped it up with 64, the memory. They had 4 bars of memory that was loaded up. So that computer is 11 years old, okay? And it's able to still hold its own. And it was on the shopping table, the live show table, but it was too large, and I put it over here, and I'm emotionally attached to this computer. But through the years, I got many Apple products, and I'll tell you something, I have a Windows station here, and we have to be careful because with this copyright stuff, okay? I'm a power user of technology because I have multiple companies. In this new era, modern era of AI, more and more entrepreneurs are going to be doing multiple products at the same time. And guys like me that have 6 YouTube channels and that come out simultaneously, I don't think that's going to happen too much because there's no reason. But for me, I had to build my stuff, and for monetary constraints, then I got to get my communication skills. So there's all kinds of weird things that happened that made it that I needed to come out with messaging in 6 YouTube channels simultaneously. So, but what I'm saying is, we're going to see more and more of these entrepreneurs with maybe 10 or 15 or 20 handles and communication platforms. And I'll tell you something. I learned how to do screenshots on Apple computer, and since then I was able to learn something else. But every time you do something, you're not restrained by new apps and you need to do this and that. So, but for Apple, thank you very, very much. Like, I can't believe doing managing companies and doing the work that I do on my computers, and this stupid setup over there with all these screens and all that. Without Apple products, it would be impossible for me to do that. So thank you, Apple. Okay. Now, number 2, artificial intelligence. Now, I refer to at a certain point, I blocked in 2019. I built my clean room, and I wanted to do content, and then I started doing content, and I realized I didn't understand what it was to create messaging, and I didn't understand nothing. I was a moron. And a podcast in the middle of the night, it just made me understand what culture meant, and what, how it ties into different things and all that. I'm not going to get into that because I talked about that earlier. But that podcast was from Mr. Frisella. But the point is, for technology, for OpenAI, is I realized I had gaps in my game. I was crappy. I understood fast what problems I needed to resolve. And the main problem that I had is I didn't know how to write. I didn't know how to copy. And it starts by copywriting. Everybody should know how to write. But I was already good at customer service, engaging, meaning, on the phone, I knew how to resolve problems and all that. But what I clicked in my head is, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start learning how to do copy by email. And every email that I wrote, I tried to make it better than the next one. And I used my daily responsibilities at work to start working. And then I realized that, my website was so the descriptions were so antiquated that I needed to upgrade them. And it coincided with OpenAI coming out. And I jumped on that bandwagon because it was faster than Grammarly. And all that happened. I'm telling you, I heard the podcast. The next day, I knew I needed to do copywriting. I started upgrading and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to write. Like all this happened like super fast. And the coincidence that AI came out, and then I leaned on AI immediately to do translations and to do copy. No, to excuse me. I leaned on Grammarly to do some spell checking, to get product descriptions, and to run it by there. And then I would have other tools for translations. And then OpenAI came out and I tried it and I was like, oh my God, this is increasing my ability because I could take stuff, I could run it by AI and product descriptions, and then I could do translations. So my relationship with AI and OpenAI is very intimate. Number one, I associated from one of the reasons compounded with Apple put them together that allowed me to go from homeless to here, but also the podcast and the content creators. But it's not only that. It's think about that. OpenAI came out and okay, it was really good with spell checking and improving the flow of writing and translations. But today it's running our lives. It could run our lives. For me, I just use it professionally. But some people have it all intertwined into the email systems and all that, and agents and all that. It's becoming wild out there. But this is the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So this is happening now, and it's a blink. Think about it. We've lived for what they say billions of years, right? Okay, so if we took 100 years and we blinked, in that blink, that's the time it took from AI to go from spell check to running our lives. Now, think about what's going to happen in the 20, 30 years. But what I'm saying is to everybody, I think why AI is good is when you put in the reps, you're not looking for AI to cut corners. And I think they have safety guards in those systems to make sure that people are not trying to cheat their way to an exam, but to success. And my message, this is Reality Entrepreneur. My message is go buy an Apple computer, take OpenAI, and put in the time. Not because I did that, but because you have to do that. You have to know how to do stuff yourself. Because if you don't know how to do stuff yourself and you lean on AI will only give you a little bit more than what you're putting in. And if you don't put in the necessary, forget it. Your Apple computer is worthless. So if you want these tools to really be game changers for you, look at yourself like the third thing that you need to put in. Never, 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 never steer away from effort and perseverance and hard work. That should come first. Then Apple as a computer, as a tool, and then you get in AI and you make it a whole. And when you're going to look at my content here, you're going to see ways and techniques that are based on that philosophy. You're not going to never going to find me to get AI to cut corners. I never do because here's what I think, and I could be completely wrong, but I think that for example, assume that I know nothing about music. All right. AI music. And I put in a prompt in my AI and I say, hey, I want to become a millionaire and open a record studio. Could you do me a hit? Could you give me a prompt so I could put in Suno and create a hit and become rich? It's going to give you a crappy prompt because your intention is to cheat your way to an outcome. Let me repeat that. If you use AI to cheat your way to an outcome, you will not succeed. To get the best out of AI, you have to do the work.